Have you ever felt stuck? Not confused, not overwhelmed, stuck. Now, this could be where you're feeling like no matter what I do, it's not going to matter. I can't change this situation. Now, this could be a relationship. This could be a health issue. This could be you can't raise money. This could be the current market conditions that we're in and you can't find a deal, or the sellers want too much, or you've been looking and you can't find anything to pencil. Or maybe you have a deal but you can't find the partners that you need or the money that you need. I've been stuck recently and it really cost me. I'm going to show you what that I've used when I'm stuck, when I'm really, really stuck and I'm not getting the results I want, and how it works and how I've utilized this. But first, I want to tell you a story. This is a story of two companies that are facing the same circumstance, right? Circumstance is something that you can't change. It is what it is. It's something that could be proven in a court of law. So, for example, Trump is the president. For example, the rates today are, 3.45% for money markets, whatever. It's a fact. It's not how you feel about the rates or your opinion on the rates or your opinion on President Trump or whatever. It's just the facts of the circumstance. So two companies were facing this circumstance. The internet is going to change the way people watch movies, TV, consume media, and it's going to change it forever. Right? This is the circumstance that these two companies were facing, in the early 2000s. And these two companies are Blockbuster and Netflix. Blockbuster took that circumstance and they generated a thought around it. The CEOs, the board, whatever, this is the thought. Our current model still works. We need to protect it and we're too big to change. Blockbuster's current model and a lot of their revenue came from late fees. If you're as old as I am, then you remember going to Blockbuster and it was like, $5 or $6 to rent the video. But if you were late, it was like an additional $5. Then it was like another $3 if you were 2 days late. I mean, these late fees were basically double the rental. And that was a huge source of their revenue. And they're thinking, well, people are streaming, then we're not going to get this late fee revenue. I also think their thought was, we're too big to change, and really drill into this. Imagine, put yourself in the CEO's seat of Blockbuster. You have 9,000 retail stores. You have 9,000 real estate leases. You have all of these franchisees that have signed agreements with you. You have millions of dollars in inventory. You have contracts with these movie studios who are going to give you these DVDs to rent them out. You have all these employees, like the managers and the people that clean the places and on and on and on. And you have this gigantic cash stream flowing in every Friday night when the hordes come into Blockbuster to rent, the Fast and the Furious Part 27. Okay, so they have a lot of stuff going on that is not just going to be a tweak, right? Switching from renting DVDs to streaming is not a minor tweak. It's not like, we're renting month to month and now we're going to put people on a yearly lease, or we're not collecting pet fees, or we're going to build back the water. Like, it was a huge, huge change. And so they decided to legitimately do nothing about it. They didn't think, well, we'll dip our toe in the water, we'll wade into this, we'll try it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, Netflix really had the same model. Okay, go back in time with me, because I remember this and I had this service. But what Netflix would do is you'd go on their website, you'd pick out like 2 or 3 DVDs that you wanted. They would mail them to you. You could keep them as long as you want. And when you mailed them back, then they would send you, 3 more. But they were still mailing these physical DVD discs. And so they also have millions of dollars worth of DVDs. They also have studio relationships. They also have these subscription models and this thing that works and this revenue stream. And they have this big infrastructure and warehouses where they're storing all these DVDs and how they organize them and how they have built this entire website that's going to take these orders and send these things back. Like, they have a lot to do as well. But their thought wasn't, this model works, we got to protect it, and we can't change. Their thought was, our current model is dead. It's already dead. It's never going to work long term. This is never going to work. We have to replace it. We have to do something completely different. Yeah, we can struggle along with this for a while and let it, get the income that it can get. But long term, the internet is going to change the way people watch movies. And it's only going to become more and more so that way. I remember being a kid, buying a cassette tape or buying a CD and thinking, man, I wish I could just buy the one song that I like on this CD. Like, I don't need these other 20 songs that I've never heard of and I don't want to listen to. I wish I could just buy that one song. And, lo and behold, the MP3 player and iTunes and all that, now you can, now you can stream it on YouTube or whatever for free. But so if you were in the model of selling cassette tapes or CDs, like, that's going the way of the dinosaur as well. But their model was, our current model is going to die. That was their thought. Okay. And so those companies are generating emotions and they're creating a company culture, right? So the Blockbuster company culture and emotion was, we're the biggest dog in the fight. We're comfortable here. We're making money. Maintain the status quo. Keep doing what we've always done. It's going to continue to work. And people aren't going to want to watch TV on their computers and watch streaming. Like, we're just so far away from that. It's not going to be a problem. Netflix, I'm sure they freaked out a little bit when they were making this decision. But once that decision was made and they changed that thought around the situation that they found themselves in, their emotion was, one, probably urgency. Okay, we got to start working on this problem. We got to start making changes. And secondly, conviction, right? This is the future, right? And if we stay renting out DVDs monthly, we are going to be decimated by somebody else. Somebody else is going to come in and eat our lunch. So circumstance generates thoughts. These two companies had very different thoughts. Blockbuster said, hey, protect, we've got too big of a revenue model, just keep doing what we're doing. Blockbuster's thought was, our model is going to die, we've got to adapt, we've got to change, and we got to do it right now. That generated emotions of comfort and status quo on the Blockbuster side, and urgency and tenacity, and we got to act now, emotions on the Netflix side, and probably some excitement of, hey, we are going to dominate this space if we pull this off. And so those emotions generated actions. What was Blockbuster's action? Delay the inevitable, protect the revenue, keep charging the late fees. Pretty much no action. Doing what they were doing was their action. Netflix action, we've got to cannibalize ourselves. We've got to move away from investing into this DVD rental, and we've got to invest early into the infrastructure to build a Netflix website, to start negotiating streaming rights with different companies, to sell a subscription, to start marketing that. We've got to put up a lot of money through investments and people to get this into the next phase of what this company is going to be. And those were some scary actions that they had to take. Fast forward to today, we all know the result. We know the outcome. Dominance. Total dominance. Netflix is one of the largest entertainment companies in the world now. Everybody has it on their TV. It's in every hotel room. Pretty much everybody that I know has a subscription to Netflix. And the flip side, Blockbuster is gone, right? Complete bankruptcy. There aren't any Blockbuster stores anymore. All of those leases are now different liquor stores and Family Dollars and whatever. Blockbuster, we know what Blockbuster is, but my kids don't know what Blockbuster is. They've never been inside a Blockbuster, and it will just go the way of decimation because that was the result that they got, was bankruptcy. And the point I'm trying to make is where did it start, right? Both CEOs of both companies, both boards of directors were faced with the same circumstance, that the internet is going to change the way people consume media. You would have had to be an idiot to not recognize and realize that, And to Blockbuster credit, they did eventually try to do the streaming, but Netflix was so far ahead and it was just too late and it didn't work out. And so even though they did eventually start to do the right actions, it was just too little, too late. So the internet did not destroy Blockbuster, right? The circumstance did not destroy Blockbuster. The thought that they had about the internet, that's what destroyed them. They thought, I don't know what they thought. Maybe this is a phase. Maybe this is a fad. We're too big. We've got too much at stake. We can't change. Those thoughts generated emotions and actions that led to their demise and downfall. Same circumstance, same thought, vastly different result. So tying this into a personal story for me, something that I'm being faced with in real time, and how I do this is, it's like, guys, I catch myself getting stuck. I catch myself having the wrong thoughts. I've made these mistakes in the past. I still make it. And I preach this to myself and I preach it to you to try and help us all do a little bit better. Because guys, it's really easy to look at a circumstance and think this is bad, or this is good, or I can't do anything about this, or this is this way because of X, Y, and Z, when really the circumstance is neutral. So the circumstance that I found myself in is an apartment complex that I own in Moline, and you've probably heard me talk about this on my podcast if you've been listening, but it's 113 units up in Moline, Illinois, which is way far away from me. I live in South Carolina. And the situation I have is I own the property, right? I don't want to own the property. I want to sell the property. I want to pay off the loan. I want to pay the investors back, and I want it off my plate because it's just not a property that I want in my portfolio. And so that is my assumption is, or my circumstance is that I still own the property. Then I find myself in an even, well, here I go. I'm saying worse circumstance, but it's a different circumstance. This September, October, we notice that our water bills are going way up. Then we notice that our vacancy is creeping up. People are moving out and people are not moving in. And I decide we're going to sell this. I'm going to go up there every month and I'm going to try to figure out what's going on and right the ship because it's not going well, right? That's my circumstance. And I start to go up there and I see, okay, the hallways are dirty. The leasing agent isn't on site. The maintenance guy is overwhelmed. There's leaking toilets. There's leaking shower heads. There's leaking tub fillers. The shower heads are these huge volume shower heads, like we're dumping money down the drain, literally. And I start to affect some change and I start to feel a little bit better about this. But the company's still kind of going in the wrong direction. Right? It's not covering its bills very well, and it's just not going in the direction that I want it to. And so I decide, man, I really need to get rid of this property. And lo and behold, it does go under contract. And it goes under contract in February 3rd. But I've been under contract before. This property's been under contract 3 different times. It's fallen out of contract each time. Either the buyer wanted to heavily retrade. One buyer, the partnership split up and he went to jail. Another buyer couldn't get the loan approved and they couldn't do it. So just a series of bad luck on getting this property sold. And so we go under contract, and as we're under contract, the property continues to get worse. I mean, it's getting better in some ways because I'm going up there every month and I'm spending time, but the oversight, the on-site agent, it's not moving in the right direction, and the vacancy is still going up, and we are getting a hold of the water bills, but it's just like, man, this isn't working. And here I'm stuck, right? This is where I'm stuck. Because I'm like, I can't change the management company. I live in South Carolina. How can I manage this? I've got a not great on-site agent, but I'm under contract. I don't want to rock the boat with the buyer. They're going to think that I'm like unstable if I'm switching people during a sale, and they're going to dig into that further. And if they retrade me or they get out of contract, I really need to sell it to them at any price now because it's continuing to get worse and worse and worse and worse. And if I sell it this summer, it maybe is going to be even worse shape and I'm going to get even worse price. And like, these are the thoughts that I'm having about this circumstance. Those thoughts were generating extremely negative emotions. Paralysis, fear, anxiety, there's nothing I can do, woe is me, on and on and on. Those emotions are generating inaction. And those inactions are not getting me the result I want, which is to get this thing sold. So what can I do? You can't really change your emotions. You feel how you feel. You can't change your circumstances. It is what it is. You can change your actions, but if you just gut it out for a little while, that's going to fade. Like, you have to have an intrinsic emotion driving that. But the one thing that you can change is your thoughts. And so my first thought was, well, if it falls out of contract, then I will have to take over the management. I've got a team here. My sister, she's our asset manager, property manager here. I've got a great property manager on one of our other apartment complex. You know, the maintenance guy is good. We can get a new leasing agent. We've got to get this leasing agent out of here and we got to get them replaced. So like, at least I have a plan if it falls out of contract. That was like my first step. And I felt a little bit better about that. Then I thought, you know what? This thing's already going in the wrong direction. It may be a month or 2 months if it falls out of contract before that happens. And then I'm going to be 2 months more in the hole and 2 months behind. Like, I need to do something now. So boom, we end up firing the on-site leasing agent, getting rid of him. Well, that's great, but we need somebody there. And then as I dig into this, I think, you know what? This management company that has it, I love them. They're fine, but they're in Virginia. And they're not coming on site enough. They're not managing this well enough. They're tired of this deal. They don't care about it like I care about it. And we have to affect change right now. So I'm like, we're going to take this management in-house and we're going to take it right now. So I have a difficult call with the management company. They're like, yeah, you know, it's fine. They were very cooperative. I really, really appreciate that. And so we decided on February like 23rd to take it in-house March 1st, which today is March 4th. If you're listening to the day that I'm recording, this is March 4th. I fly up to Moline. I spend 4 days there. We do a series of interviews. We find a great new leasing agent. We actually get a lease signed. Somebody moves in. We've got 4 more appointments coming on today. We dig into the bills. We transfer stuff over. We start vacuuming the halls. We start fixing the work orders. We get 4 units ready to lease. And I come back from Moline and I feel 1,000% better about this deal and the direction that it's going in. And it's still under contract. So, you know, you never know. But now, if this group that wants to buy it, if they decide, hey, we need $500,000 off this price tag, well, I have options to say, no, I'm not doing that. I don't think you're the right buyer for this. I'm going to continue to operate this and it's working well and it's cash flowing and it's a blessing and I'm going to just like wait for another buyer. Instead of a shotgun to my head of, man, I'm losing money. I'm going to lose more money. I got to get rid of this. I don't want to manage it. I don't have a plan, blah, 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 blah. I got to take whatever they'll give me, right? You never want to be in that situation as a seller, trust me. So I feel a lot better about that. And the point is when I started to ladder my thoughts over, well, I can't manage this in-house. One, is that true? Why not? Okay, talk to Crystal about it. What does she think about it? Talk to Jessica, our other leasing agent. What does she think about it? You know what? If we interview and hire, wow, we actually found a great on-site manager. Maybe this is going to be good for our piece of the puzzle. You know what? Let me talk to the old property manager, see if he'd be willing to let me take over the management and get out of that contract with him. Yes, he is. Okay. All these pieces start to come together just because I stopped believing, well, I can't take this in-house, right? I stopped believing that nobody's going to want to buy this. I stopped believing that I'm not going to be able to affect change. I stopped believing that, you know, there was just a fundamental problem with the market. That's not true. You know, leases are coming in, leads are coming in. The reason people were leaving was because they weren't being taken care of. Work orders weren't being done. When I was up there, we unclogged a sink that had been, you know, messed up. Not only that unit, but the back-to-back unit, their sinks hadn't been draining properly for a month. Well, if I'm a tenant and my sink's not draining for a month, I'm probably going to leave as soon as I can, But if the maintenance guy comes in and they get it cleared out and my sink's running again, okay, fine, I want to stay there. Those little things were what was affecting the vacancy more so than anything else. We're seeing these leads falling in and we're immediately calling them, immediately emailing them, immediately setting up a tour, immediately running their applications and getting right back to them whether they're approved or not approved. The urgency, the intensity to do that. And so these actions are easy. I'm excited about these actions. I've generated a new emotion about this deal. I'm excited about this deal. I'm getting this deal on track. It's going in the right direction. And I believe that that will lead to the result that I want, which is to successfully sell the property. Maybe not to this buyer. We'll see what happens. But some buyer in the future will see the value in this, see the cleaned up financials, see the bomb-proof operations, and want to buy this property. And so just by doing that, I'm going to be able to get the result I want, because the result that I don't want is I keep holding Moline, I keep losing money, and it drags on and on and on. And yet the thoughts that I was having about Moline were generating the emotions and the inaction that were keeping me exactly right there. So this is real talk, guys. I'm not out of the woods yet, but I am back on track. And apartment complexes, kind of like Netflix, kind of like Blockbuster, I think of them as this big iron wheel. And it takes a lot of effort to get that wheel spinning. And once that wheel stops and starts spinning in the wrong direction, it starts to gain momentum in the wrong direction. And if you don't stop that wheel and start pushing it back the other way, it's going to get into a situation where it's too little, too late, right? Vacancy is so high. You don't have any cash flow, you're not covering your bills, you don't have the money to do the renovations to get new tenants in place, you don't have the money to keep up with the tenants that you do have and keep them happy, and it becomes a vicious downward spiral down the drain. That's how people lose properties. That's how people get foreclosures. Is because 12 months ago, when they should have taken the action, changed the things, and had the ability to do so, they didn't. And they stuck their head in the ground because they were depressed about the deal. They were anxious about the deal. Things weren't going the way that they wanted them to go. And so they ignored them and they ignored them. And they worked on the things that were exciting to them or fun to them instead of digging into the problem at hand and fixing the problem. Emotions and thoughts generate all these things. So if you've got a situation in your life that you're down about, a circumstance that you're down about, audit those thoughts. Write them down. I bet you half of them aren't even true. Then ladder those thoughts over to something that is believable. You know, it doesn't have to be a complete 180, but it's like, hey, if I went to Moline once a month, would I have a better handle on this property? Yes. That led me to, what if I spent 3 days up there and helped this guy get work orders done? Would that help the property? Yes. What if I got rid of this crappy leasing agent and I got a new one in place? Would that help the property? Yes. What if I could take the management in-house? Would that improve the property? Yes. And I laddered up to that. Like if you told me in October, hey, you got to fire your staff, you got to fire the property manager, you got to take all this in-house, you got to go up to Moline and spend weeks at a time up there, like I would have been like, I don't believe it. I can't do that. It would have been too much. So I laddered my thoughts over there. I've got to just start going up there. I've got to do something towards this. I've got to change my thought because I believe this property can shine. I believe this property can be successful. I believe this property can be successfully sold. So guys, that's where I'm at. And this exercise is extremely vital. In a nutshell, what is your circumstance that you can't change? It just is what it is. What are your thoughts around that circumstance? That's the magic. The emotions that you're going to generate with a new thought, which are going to get you to do the actions that you need to do to make it happen, which is going to get you the result that you actually want. Because if you're stuck, that means your thoughts are stuck. They're generating negative emotions, which is generating inaction, which is getting you the result that you don't want. Have a great week and unlock your life. Peace.